Hello there. Welcome to the stream. Today is kind of a hanging out kind of day. I don't have anything prepared. I have a lot of other projects I'm working on. So I figured I'd just let you guys ask questions. See what's up. So, hopefully it's a good time. I don't know what all of you are doing these days with so many places in lockdown. Well, lockdown might be a bit of harsh, extreme, but certainly a lot of social distancing going on. So a lot more people at home. I don't know really how that's going to affect anything as far as people tuning into this, but how's it going, everyone? Thanks for stopping by. It's going to be a real chill stream today, I think. Real chill stream. How's it going, William? You guys are going to direct this wherever it goes. Carlos, David, how's it going? Argentine Packet, of course. Good to see all of you. How's everyone doing with the virus? We all staying safe? We're not going near old people? Is there an alternate universe where sovereign citizens are right and everyone else is wrong? Well, assuming that alternate universes exist, and I'm no physicist, so what do I know? That's go into string theory and brain theory, and brain being BRANE, not BRAIN, which is short for membrane theory. Certainly possible. Now, if there are alternate universes, the theory is that there are infinite alternate universes. So yes, there would be a universe where sovereign citizens are correct. It is not this one, though. We are not in that universe. Snowy in Denver. It is not snowing here. I tell you what, it's become springtime. It's pretty nice. I get to go running outside again. I hate treadmills, folks. I hate treadmills. So it's going to be nice to actually, get some fresh air. And now I can't even use a treadmill because all the gyms are closed. It's a shame. Can't even find milk. You got to find the cow. Look, if the grocery stores won't sell you milk, you got to break into a farm, find the cow, get it direct from the udder. Please don't do that, though. Those of you in cow country, I don't know, is that a thing that you do? You can't infect me. I have constitutional rights. There was that. There are some people involved in religion. I'm trying to be cautious how I say this. Some of the big sort of celebrities of religion. There's one of them in particular. I can't remember who it is, but it's basically like, Jesus says that this virus is illegal, and therefore, go away, virus. I appreciate the effort you're putting in, and if that worked, great, very exciting. I don't think that's how it works, though. Good old Scientology. Haha. Was going one time. Get thee away, virus. The power of Christ compels you. Oh, guys, I want to show you something. I got this as a gift years ago, and I found this. I feel like I should just wear this during streams all the time. I completely forgotten this existed. Look how amazing this is. It really matches the sweater vest. It's got the little mustache. This is... I don't know why I don't wear these all the time. Like, this should be my going out sunglasses, you know? I think this is going to be my thumbnail right here. Just... right there. Hey, thank you one time. Thank you so much. Yeah. I love... What do you think? Should I do the entire stream like this? I mean, I can take them off. I just think they're amazing. I look like a Philly cop. Hey, you! Hey, give me a sandwich. One of them Philly sandwiches. Yeah. I was it Philadelphia? I went to, oh, what's that jail? Eastern State Penitentiary, I think it was. I was in the area, and I was like, I gotta visit this place. It's such an interesting jail. That must have been Philly. It is a fascinating place. Real spooky. Yeah. I almost had it. Filthy. You guys are great. Scientologists believe in George Washington, Andrew Jackson, Benjamin Franklin, whoever else graces our currency. Yeah. Look, I'm not trying to bash anybody. I personally don't really believe that Scientology is a real religion, and I have certain concerns about them. I'd love to be proven wrong, but yeah. Hey, one time, you guys are great. Is it the sunglasses? Is that why you're donating? Because I can put them back on. Wear when I go out auditing. Oh, I should do an audit with that. Now, I've already done my audits. I didn't anticipate doing more. I have to put out the video. I keep getting new stuff. Like, new stuff keeps happening. And it keeps distracting me from the videos. I have a video on Nasty Nathaniel I'm trying to put out, and it's a good video. It makes him look good. And I have a video on auditing that I'm going to be putting out with the live stream that's going to go with it. I still have to do a bunch of work on some sovereign citizen videos. Just, with this virus, things are actually getting more difficult for me. You'd think, like, oh, you stay at home. I'm not staying at home. I still have to work. Which is fine. I enjoy working. I enjoy what I do. But, and the paychecks are nice, obviously. But with everything else not open, it's making my job a little crazier, which means that I don't have as much time to edit my videos. Oh, Matt, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much, Matt. Thank you so much. What kind of work do I do? That's a good question. I will tell you. I won't tell you exactly what I do. I got my sunglasses. I will tell you it is similar to the field in which I worked, which is, law enforcement through the military. It is similar. The reason I want to say exactly what I do, last time I gave too much information, a group of people decided to call one of my former units and harass them about me to try to get myself and people I associated with in trouble, I guess. Basically, the unit contacted me and said, why are people calling us? And I don't really want to have to go with that again. Like, no one got in trouble. It was just the unit was very confused, and I was very unhappy that people would try to get to me and my associates that way. So I try not to put out any exact information. I keep kind of vague when it comes to, obviously where exactly I live, what exactly I do, that sort of thing. Hey, Hardstee, you do what you gotta do. If you end up not being able to, that's perfectly fine. I appreciate everything you guys do. Don't think that I'm trying to require you guys to donate to anything. But I really appreciate it. All right, Hardstee, give me your former cop question loaded and ready to go. Give me that. What you got? A secret agent. Got it. Yes, because a secret agent would be plastering their face all over YouTube. Maybe that's exactly why I'm doing it, because you'd never believe that a secret agent would do it. Did I ever come close to using deadly force on someone? Oh, once. I mean, I've drawn my weapon on duty a few times. If you have a building alarm, you're gonna go through that building with your gun out just in case someone's broken in and is dangerous, whatever, right? That is not infrequent. If you're in a situation where you think you might be in danger, if you're out in the middle of the woods, you're gonna be quicker to turn to lethal force. So, trespassers, under certain circumstances, you'll have your firearm out. Fake Jeremy DeWitt. I will explain that afterwards. But the only time I ever actually had my firearm drawn and ready to use on a person, I wasn't directly pointing at them, but it was close. I was on base. I was in a position. So as military police, I had multiple positions. I worked as a criminal investigator for many years, but I was also on the road for a few. At the beginning of my time at my most recent base, and then the end of the time as I was transitioning out, they took me off investigations so that I would have time to properly transition out. So they put me on the road, and they had me every once in a while in charge of the military police that were securing the, I don't want to say perimeter, basically the access control points. So at each access control point, you have a certain amount of security, and you have at least one military police soldier, because they're familiar with the laws, and they can sort of facilitate the responses to certain issues. I was in the position as a sergeant where I was sort of in charge of all of them. So I would go from access control point to access control point, and just check on them, see what they needed. If anything happened, I'd show up to assist. And there was an incident where I was talking to my friends and being like, "Hey, what's up? How's it going? Anything interesting?" And a car pulls up down the road. Oh, give me just 1 second, guys. I'm getting a phone call. I'll start the story again. All right, I'm back. I should remember that I muted myself. Anyway, that was weird and awkward. All right, where was I? Oh, yes. So, I was at one of the access control points with one of my friends, younger than me, a little less experienced, but real good at what he was doing. Showed a lot of promise, and he still does. I think he's on the East Coast now. Doesn't matter. So, a car pulls up, not into the base, but there's sort of a road leading to the access control point from the highway. And they sort of pull off the highway onto the road, and I'm looking at him, and he's looking at me like, what on earth is that person doing? Because technically they're on base property. So we're kind of looking at them, and they're just parked there, like on the side of the road. So I'm like, hey, you want to go check that out? And they go, yeah, let's go check that out. So we walk up to the dude, and he is racked out. He's just, oh, there's my green screen right there. He's just racked out, just right. And I knock on the window, like, hey, bud. So I, knock, knock, knock. And he wakes up and looks at me and sort of, sort of freaks out. And I'm like, hey, bud, no, it's fine. Like, what's going on? He goes, well, I was driving on the highway, and I was just really tired, and I just needed to pull over somewhere. I'm like, oh, yeah, no, that makes sense. I'd rather have you, here than on the highway, where you might hurt someone. So, I'll let you take a nap. That's fine. We'll just check up on you, make sure you're not, asphyxiating on your own, who knows what, every 20 minutes or so. How's that sound? He goes, oh, no, it's fine. I can leave right now. I'm feeling a little bit more awake now. But yeah, you looked a little shocked when you saw me. So we're like, all right, dude, well, if you decide to change your mind, that's fine. We'll stop by. We won't necessarily wake you up, but we'll just make sure you're okay. I'm not building bombs in the back seat or anything. Obviously, I didn't say that to him, but I was thinking it. So we're like, all right, see you, dude. So we walk back, and he doesn't move, so I just assume that he sort of passed out again. And it is weird that he's there, but I'd rather have him there than, being in danger on the road. So many minutes later, we're just, securing the access control point, checking out cars, making sure everyone's good to go. And it is worth pointing out this time that there's an inbound and an outbound lane, right? So this inbound goes through the security checkpoint. The outbound does not. And all of a sudden, the car just right into the base through the outbound lane, going the wrong direction. So we immediately like, oh, snap. Right? I didn't even realize this was the car with the guy who was sleeping. This is the exact same guy. Like, okay, cool. All I saw was car went in, shouldn't have gone in, bypassed our security, hit the barrier button. And so, you smack the button, these barriers pop up down the road, blocking off the road, and that gives us a chance to catch up to them. So as we get there, as I jumped in my truck, and the MP jumped in with me. He's got his rifle, and I've got my my pistol. And we speed up after this guy. He's stopped in front of the barriers. And we get out, and, guns drawn, pointing at his vehicle. And I'm about to start giving commands to get out of the vehicle, but the other MP, the inexperienced one, starts just shouting these commands. And he does a great job. And I'm like, you know what? I might as well let him do it, right? Put your hands out of the vehicle with your left hand. Open your door. Step out of the vehicle with your left foot. Step out of the vehicle with your right foot, without turning around when keeping your hands up. Step backwards towards the sound of my voice. Drop to your knees. All of the commands that you give. And the guy drops to his knees and, pauses for a second and then just flops right onto his face. Like, it must have hurt. He hit that ground hard. Like, he's thinking, I'm on my knees. They're going to tell me to go to my face. I might as well drop. And we would have been pretty cool with him doing it slowly. But he just, boom. It's like, I was just like, oh no, dude. Like, oh no, that must have hurt. So I run up to him, and I'm like, yeah, adrenaline, right? I don't want to shoot this dude, guys. I absolutely at no point want to do anything, but my adrenaline is going. My buddy is shouting commands. I get on him. I have him cross his legs, and I get on his legs, and I start handcuffing him. He's like, I'm not doing anything. I'm not resisting. And he wasn't. Good job him, right? And I'm like, I know, dude. I know. That's why we're being super chill. Everyone's calm. We're fine. I'm calm. My buddy's calm. I'm looking at my buddy like, be calm, dude, because he's got his rifle. Like, try something, right? And so I'm like, everyone's calm. We're fine. How are you? Probably not great. All right, we're calming down. Everything's fine. And so I roll him over to get him onto his feet. And my buddy's like, clear, which is something that you would do in a combat zone, is you check to make sure they don't have a grenade under them. Because with enemy combatants, sometimes they will fake being dead, and then they'll they'll have a grenade, and when you get near them, they'll pop the grenade because they already know they're dead. And so he did that, and I was just like, okay, cool. Got him to his feet. I mean, which it wasn't a bad move, because if someone's, we assumed he might have some sort of explosives on him, if he's illegally entering a military installation. Like, that is an assumption. It was just very strange. And we sat him down on the hood of a car, and we had a very good conversation. We ended up laying him out of the handcuffs because he was just like, I'm so sorry. I must have been still half asleep. I thought my GPS told me to go this way, and because the inbound section has a building over it, but the outbound doesn't, I thought they were two separate roads. It was a whole thing. And he gave... Yeah, we ran him. Oh, yes, Brian, we ran him, and he came back as clear. We eventually let him go. That was... I mean, he was... He made a mistake, but we didn't get any, like, weird vibes off him. And people assume military police are super scary because, the word military is before them, and that we're just going to gun you down if you enter the base. That is not true. I mean, certain circumstances, yes, but we're not trying to shoot anyone. We're not. We try very hard to make sure the situation doesn't escalate to that point. And he ended up, leaving unharmed, a little cold and wet because he was, on the ground. But yeah, we held him. And then every other law enforcement agency on the base wanted a piece of the action. So we had our green suiters, which are our environmental patrols. We had the civilian police. We had some other MPs show up, and everyone wanted to, take charge of this. I'm like, no, everyone needs to back off, right? You're not doing this. You're not doing this. And so, like, the green suiters and the civilian police have a lot of experience. They're like, oh, this Sergeant MP doesn't know what he's doing. I do know what I'm doing, by the way. And so they're trying to, like, hey, what do you think you're doing? Who's coming on base? I'm just like, calm down, dude. We've already got it figured out, right? Like, we're already in contact with dispatch and the supervisor on shift. Like, go away. You're making things worse. But everyone was interested and excited to deal with it. It was a thing. So that's the closest I ever came to shooting someone. Not that I actually came close. Just the only time I've actually had my firearm pointed in someone's direction, ready to take out a threat. But I always prided myself in being able to de-escalate a situation so that I never had to reach that point. But obviously with that kind of thing, you have to initiate it at that level, because if someone's unlawfully entering a military installation, you have to assume the worst. Fortunately, we were able to take it from here down to here without any issues, and the guy was incredibly compliant, which probably saved his life. If he was not compliant, we would have at least tased him easily. But if he had shown himself as any sort of threat, it could have gone completely differently. I should have shot him. I should not have shot him. Would not have been justified. Yeah, so it was a thing, and I'm glad it happened, because I know more about myself now, having done it, and how I react to that sort of situation, which is always something I like to take away from any intense experience. But yeah, as far as someone was asking what it feels like to be tased, I have a good taser story, guys. I've only been tased once, been OC'd twice. Taser is better than OC. I will tell you that right now. If an officer says, I'm going to tase you, you're going to want to think about obeying their instructions. Taser's not fun. If an officer says, I'm going to OC you, you definitely want to comply. I promise you do not want to get OC'd. Now, I mean, up to you, but this is your warning. Being tased, I'm not, when they tase me for 10 seconds, by the way. The normal trigger pull is 5 or 6 seconds, but if you hold it down, it goes longer. So they use me as an example. Thanks a lot, guys. To show that you can hold it longer if necessary. And the reason that I was chosen for that, because I was at the very back of the line. I was not originally, but someone had one of our newer soldiers, when she was tased, she started to have like this sort of, I don't want to say mental breakdown, but mentally she did not handle it well. And a lot of people don't. And so I stepped out of line to help her out. And then when I got back in line, I was at the back. So they're like, oh, you're going to be in the back of the line. Cool, we're going to get you for 10 seconds. Like, thanks, guys. I was trying to help other people. But we're going off topic. So, what happened was, I'm standing there. You got two people under each arm because when you get hit, if you cross the hemispheres, which is your waistline, basically the bigger the spread, the more effective the taser is. And so you want to get one in the shoulder, and then if you can, one in the thigh. And that will lock a person completely up. You will be unable to do anything unless you're on drugs or your clothing stops the prongs somehow. They got me good. They got one in my shoulder, closer to the spine, really, and then one right between the butt cheeks. It was right between. And it felt like 1,000 ball bearings just being shot, like rapid fire, straight up in butthole. It was incredibly uncomfortable. So I assume that's generally how it feels like, except, different locations. But it to me, it felt like just ball bearings, just boom. And it's real intense. And it's not necessarily painful, but it's very, very intense. And it just makes it very difficult to do anything, even if you're not locked up. Like, let's say you only got, the back and the shoulder, and it's still going to be a pretty intense experience, but you'll be able to fight it to a degree. But when you cross those hemispheres, but yeah, that's my taser experience. Yeah, because I knew I wouldn't hurt them for it. Flash gas. I'm not entirely sure what flash gas is. What are we saying about the sovereign citizens? Come work at Metro State. I'm not very good on a motorcycle. And I say that because I've never ridden a motorcycle. But, I mean, if it paid well, I'd consider it. Because I think they could use someone with a little knowledge of the law. Not that some of them don't. I'm not trying to bash anyone. But I feel like my skills would be effectively applied. One flat earth friend, that's all you can handle. That's fair. It is. My sovereign citizen plumber, by the way, is a flat earther as well. Where are you in here the other day? Yeah, I really need to get that the plumber interviewed. I really, really do. And Gary, you're right. Good rule of thumb is assuming everyone you encounter is armed and be prepared. I mean, obviously you can't act on it, but we generally assume that everyone is a threat, because if you don't and you're not ready for a threat, you will die. There are police officers who get too compliant and it kills them. And I'm not saying that everyone is treated like they are a threat. It's just, as a police officer, you have to be ready for it. And you have to make sure you're not putting yourselves in a dangerous situation. So if someone's walking behind me, I will turn to make sure that they are, I have them at least in my peripherals. You'll notice police officers don't tend to make eye contact, and there are two reasons for that. One is so that they can focus on more things. They're not getting tunnel vision. The second thing is direct eye contact can be seen as something that is aggressive, and so I tend to not maintain eye contact with anyone who is very aggressive, because I don't want that to escalate. And sometimes that is seen as something that will escalate it. So, and also you want to be aware of your surroundings. Just fun things about the threat of people. And of course, I don't see people as a threat, but I don't like to be a victim, and I like to be ready if something goes down. Which is worse, coronavirus or bird flu? Now, I actually don't know. That is not my field of expertise, but I recommend trying not to get either of them. Let me see. I'm just reading your comments real quick. Can a sovereign citizen claim they're not driving in commerce, I wonder? Or sovereign citizen plumber. He doesn't make that claim. Although I told him, that's a work truck, dude. So, does that really count? He's like, well, I'm not working in the truck. Cool. He has a driver's license, too. He's like, yeah, I don't need a driver's license. But, dude, you have one. You own a driver's license. And I think he's just tired of being harassed about it. He's like, it's just not worth my time. And he has this great story. He's like, yeah, I was arrested for, driving with a suspended whatever. And, I'm going to beat it in court. I don't think he did. He won't talk about it, by the way. Yeah. So he won't actually give me details about his court case, which makes me think that he definitely lost. But he's like, oh, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. What does matter is while I was in jail, waiting for the trial, I got to educate some people in the jail, and I'm sure there were a few people in like this cell with him, just like, stop, we don't care, you're not right. Oh, it's great, and he's a lot of fun. He's a nice guy, but he doesn't trust he has like such a strong distrust for the government that he will pursue theories simply because they counter what the government is putting out as information, which is why one of the reasons he's a flat earther, because he just trusts NASA, and he's a very religious person. So there's the whole, something in the Bible that basically describes the Earth as a flat plane, I guess. I don't recall. Let me see. Something just happened to my stream. Yeah, they always claim they beat in court without any proof. I have just this incredibly long list of cases where they did not win, and sovereign citizens have not been arguing with me recently, so I haven't been able to, whip that thing out. But it's a whole thing. And of course, when you're like, no, you won't win in court, they'll just be like, well, because it's kangaroo court, it's not real. Like, okay, then why are you putting so much stock in, beating it? It's kind of weird, right? Have I ever dealt with a sovereign citizen or Moorish nitwit? Not on duty, no. I have through the plumber. But on duty, no. Let me see. Times are changing. Times are changing. What's your opinion? In regards to what? Like, what kind of changes are we talking about? A good stare down when it comes to frauditors. Oh, if I ever dealt with an auditor, I'll be nice. I would make it tricky for them. Oh yeah, no, hard C. You become very vigilant, and it just sort of becomes part of your daily life. And again, it's not that I perceive people as a threat, but there's this incident where I was taking the bus. I was waiting at the bus stop, and things were cool. Things were fine. I turn around, and there's this shirtless, I assume shirtless man, just with his 5 feet away, with his fingers pointing at my head like a gun, I'm in civilian clothes, like I'm nobody, right? I just look at him like, cool, right? That's what I get for not paying attention to my surroundings. It's not that I'm afraid of people, it's that you never know what's going to happen, and it was just kind of a weird experience. Seattle, man. That's what I get for visiting the city. Yeah, if they win, a lot of things they don't take into account. They're like, I won based on my arguments. No, you probably won because either the court wasn't willing to deal with you, the police officer didn't show up, there's some sort of technicality. You're not winning based on your arguments. I've never seen, and none of them ever, I've asked, people say, yo, yeah, I've won, I've beaten it, I have the right to travel. Sure, you don't have the right to drive, though. Yes, I do. I won it in court. And what court case is that? Give me the case number. They're never able to do it. So it's raising some questions. Cop version of Spidey Sense. You're right. That would be nice. Oh, speaking of Jeremy DeWitt came up earlier. Do you guys know that I interviewed him? I didn't do it live because I wanted to make sure you guys didn't harass him too much. And it is a pretty simple interview. I didn't, I'm not interrogating him like a cop. I just felt like, what? Why not get his side of the story? So I'm not bashing him. I'm not going real hard on him. We reviewed the questions I wanted to ask beforehand because obviously he's very limited in what he can talk about. And so it was either, have him review the questions or not interview him at all. So I don't know if you guys want to hear part of it. I have it open. I can just, put on a random part and have you listen. But, I'll let the chat catch up because it's there's a bit of a delay. I put me on ultra low latency the stream on ultra low latency. So those of you who never streamed, you have three options: normal latency, low latency, and ultra low latency. Latency being, the amount of delay, and there's still a lot of delay. It's very strange. Yeah. Right. All right, I'll play a little bit. I'm not going to do too much because I have a lot of editing. I'm not going to show it to you. I just want to give you some audio. Because all it is going to be me in front of a green screen going, oh, that's the video, right? That's all you're going to see. Now, the full video is going to have more than that. I'm going to make it interesting. It's going to be a fun time. But let me see if I can get some of it.
I probably shouldn't have done this review or this statement with you, but you seem to be one of the few out there that are
not
so much trying to change. Again, not trying to change what they're seeing, but trying to show it in a different light, possibly, so you can see different aspects of why my men and women are trying to keep the family safe.
And that's my clip for you. That's my little brief bit of audio. I think the interview went well. I think we were both happy with it. Anywhere in the video where I shoot him? No. So, Andrew, cops can't know every law. How would you deal with these auditors who say, hey, CFR 765, blah, 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 Poster 7. If I was really unsure of what I was doing, I'd give them a little leeway. I would try to give them the benefit of the doubt. But what I would want is, hey, show me what you're talking about, right? Do you have Poster 7 on you? Oh, it's displayed on the wall. Let's check it out. And I would read it. And I'd say, yeah, by the way, Poster 7 does not say what you're saying. And I would try to have a discussion with them. If we were in an area where that made sense, sometimes you're like, oh, the side of the road is not the place to have a discussion, right? That sort of thing. But in a post office, right? If the post office or the location they're being kicked out of, say, wants them gone, I'm not at fault necessarily for enforcing that. Look, I enforce whatever. If this person wants you gone, they want you gone. And it is my job to ensure that you are gone. If you have a complaint, it really comes down to a complaint against the place that is kicking you out. So I encourage you to file that, is what I would say to them. Or we can discuss this in court, and you can argue this to a lawyer or to a judge, and I will be there to assist with that. Right? So there are a lot of times where people are like, no, you can't do this. I say, yes, I can. And they go, well, I'm going to take you to court. And I say, no, I'll be happy to be there. Right? I get paid to show up. I have no problem taking this to court. Or the people say, like, you can't ticket me. My insurance is valid. And I'll be like, well, I called the insurance company, and they said, no, it's not. So if you can prove that it is, this whole court, if you can prove that your insurance was valid at the time of this ticket, and somehow the insurance company is wrong, who I have just called to confirm, then contact the police station, have a discussion, provide your evidence, and this ticket will be dropped. Right? That sort of thing. Really, it comes down to, do I think I know enough that I can enforce the law? If not, I'm going to try to find out very quickly, or I'm going to call someone who knows more to the scene. And if I do know enough and they still want to argue, I'm going to say, I'm going to do my job, and you can file a complaint later, right? It's really what it's going to come down to. Rebo Man, no, he was very polite. Coronavirus. No, I'm just kidding. Oh yeah, Stingmaster, you had an interaction with him. It was we need to talk. We should put that on a stream sometime. Not today. I'm busy today, but certainly at some point. You wager Gary, or sorry, Gary, you're the one saying, I'll wager Jeremy takes a plea. I think so too. I think they're going to fight to get rid of as much as they can, and then try to take a plea, which is smart, if that's what they're doing. And now, I'm not legal advice. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not part of his counsel or anything. If I were in his position, there are certain aspects of it I think he can get dismissed. I think he has enough, and that will come out in his interview. He has some very good points about some of the stuff. There are other things I don't think he has a solid enough defense to get them dismissed. But there might be enough that a plea deal makes sense. So, depending on how the prosecution thinks a jury would react to the evidence, and of course we haven't seen all the evidence, we only see what we've been shown, and there might be some very good evidence that discredits some of the information we've been shown. I think at the end of the day he will get a plea deal, but it won't be for all of the charges. It will be, a lot of charges will be dismissed, and then eventually he'll say, yes, I will accept this, right? But we're not there yet. He still has a lot of charges he has to try to get removed first. Have I ever dealt with someone like SGV who just started yelling at cops whenever they try and tell him anything? Yeah. Not to that extent, per se. But I've dealt with drunk infantrymen, yes. No, I'm just kidding. That's a joke. Infantry and MPs don't get along too well. But I've dealt with my fair share of people that don't like police. I think I told you guys a story the other day. Not other day, well, on a different stream. About the closest I ever came to tasing someone. Where a guy yelled, F you, pigs, out of the window. And I pulled him over because soldiers can't do that. Soldiers are not allowed to... I mean, you are subject to the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Yes. So you have to maintain a certain level of dignity and respect, lawfully. And he was not doing that, so I pulled him over. Now, if it was a civilian, I would not be able to do that, but I could see he was a soldier. I pulled him over, and he was not having our interaction. He was not happy. And he was real mad. He was a private. And I'm like, I'm a sergeant, dude. Like, just a reminder, this rank right here, and this rank right here, because I was wearing my patrol cap. Like, you don't get to do this. And I'm going to, maybe you forgot, because you're a private, you're new to this. So I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt, but let's fix ourselves from now on. And he did not fix himself. And, oh boy. But there were times I'd pull people over. I'd like to sit at the access control points. And, when it was a slow day, I'm like, there's no traffic here for me to, ensure is not going through stop signs, right? Now, I don't like pulling people over for just random stuff. I don't enjoy it. But if I see you're texting, yeah, I'm pulling you over. If you're speeding, I'm pulling you over. If you're running stop signs, I'm pulling you over, right? But what I do is I would if I couldn't find traffic, and I was like, today's a traffic enforcement kind of a day, I'd go to the access control points because there's always traffic flowing through there, and I'd pull people to the side, and I'd be like, hey, just to inform you, this part of your vehicle is out of regulation, and all I wanted to do is go, oh, yeah, no, I'll definitely fix my license plate. I'll definitely do this. But sometimes you get these sergeants, like these staff sergeant first class, and they would be like, no, you're wrong, right? Like, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, cool. Well, if you're not going to just listen to me, because all I want to do is have a conversation so you know to fix it. If you're going to argue with me, and I think that you're not going to fix it, I'll just issue you a ticket. And then you can either deal with that, or you can fight me in court, and we'll find out who's right, right? I'll be absolutely reasonable until you are not. At which point, and I brought this up before, I have a thing called the asshole tax, right? If you are an asshole, I think that, a little bit of karma distributed through me is appropriate. So if you're going to be a jerk about it, and I'm being nice, and I'm being polite and professional, and you're just going to be, incredibly rude, especially if you're a soldier, you should know better. There's a level of professionalism that you are expected to operate at. And if you're going to think that your rank is better than my knowledge about the actual law, cool. We can do something about that. So, it's not to the extent of SUV, no. But have I had some real angry, intense people? Absolutely. And I always enjoyed it, because I generally knew more than they did. Rebo Man, no, he never called me Sergeant, and that is fine. I was wondering if you would. Oh, Bao. Yeah, I hear things about Bao. MPs, yeah, MPs don't outrank soldiers, but there's this phrase that we love to say because it makes everyone angry. Don't confuse your rank with my authority. No one, like, so basically what it is I have the authority to enforce law. Your rank does not prevent me from enforcing the law. You cannot use rank to try to get out of, the enforcement of that law. So that's always fun because it's this very, very cliche thing and everyone hates it. But because everyone hates it, we've always kind of enjoyed using it, like, sparingly, right? Because otherwise it loses its fun. But when someone's really being a jerk, you go, hey, don't confuse your rank with my authority. And that just makes them so angry. And I don't know what to tell you. Oh yeah, no, the cup. The problem is it's got these yellow lines that is too close to green, but not quite. So my green screen thing doesn't really know what to do with it. Yeah. What was I? Oh, do I miss the army? I miss certain aspects of it. I miss the camaraderie. I miss law enforcement a lot, and I wanted to go back into law enforcement. Certain people in my life asked me not to find something similar but less dangerous, which is what I've done. So I didn't leave law enforcement because, like disciplinary action or anything. It's just I got out of the military, and when I went to join civilian law enforcement, I was asked not to by important people in my life just out of the interest of my safety. Because I wanted to be Seattle police. I'm in that sort of area, so it wouldn't have been too far of a drive or anything. But Seattle police, I mean, in a city, law enforcement can get pretty dangerous in a city. So there were long talks. That were had about whether or not I should do that. And eventually I was like, cool, I'll try a different, similar career. If it doesn't work out, I'm going back to being a police officer. Only a non-commissioned officer can order a soldier. Well, no, officers can order soldiers too. But generally, an officer will have a non-commissioned officer deal with it. That sort of thing. I'm reading your thing. Oh, the extra good citizen thing. Yeah, where he was donated money, and then there are allegations that he used that for other things. And if I remember correctly, I don't know the details. So don't think that I am a good source of knowledge about this. But I've seen some parts of some of the streams, and some people have talked to me about that. And I think there's a lot of information out there for both sides. But if I remember correctly, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, if I even actually end up saying it, he traveled to wherever he had his court date, but he used the money to bring some other auditors with him. And then people are unhappy that he used the money to basically put other people in a hotel. That could be completely wrong. I just feel like that is what I remember seeing, and that was one of the issues. So it's a thing. It's a whole thing. All right. As far as I know, PFC can order a private, depending on the situation, of course. Yes, sort of. It depends on your unit, actually. Now, as a non-commissioned officer, sergeant and above, you can basically order anyone below you. You can give lawful orders. There are units where private to specialist doesn't work that way. And there are units where anyone who's above you can give you lawful orders. It really depends on the unit. But once you hit that non-commissioned officer level, you have a lot more authority. Like a lot more. Obviously, for those of you who know ranks, I say obviously like it's obvious. It's not going to be obvious to some of you. You have corporals, which is a lateral transfer from... Now I'm just making it confusing. So you have private... PV2, private first class, specialist. Those are your first four. Those are not non-commissioned officers. They're below that. They're the lower enlisted. Junior enlisted is what they are preferred to be called. Now, you can take a specialist and make them a corporal without actually promoting them. So it gives them authority, but not a promotion. And you can take that away from them basically any time. Now, once you get sergeant, that's an actual promotion. You have to go through like a board. You have to do interviews. You have to... there's a lot of stuff that goes through it. Or to it. Into it? That's the word. So there are ranks where, yes, they are more designed to sort of give instructions. Obviously, it has to be lawful. It can't be unlawful, it can't be unethical, and it can't be immoral, right? But anything other than that is fairly fair game. And then it also comes down to, generally, you don't give orders to someone outside of your unit. You would contact their chain of command and have them do it, because there are certain circumstances where you can't order someone in a different unit. It gets fairly complicated, or it can get fairly complicated. Usually it's not. Usually people don't. There's like, oh, you're an NCO? Cool. Yeah, I'll definitely, get off the sergeant major's grass. Thanks for letting me know. But yeah, it's a complicated-ish thing. Blind Justice. I feel like I've seen Blind Justice's name thrown around before. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I just confused all of you with that description of ranks and authority. I'm confused, and I lived it. Blind Justice is guilty of stolen valor. Well, that'd be certainly interesting if there was evidence. You know what? I haven't worn these glasses in a second. We're putting these back on. I love these. Do you think... Should I do more streams with these? I feel like I should. They're kind of amazing. They're so stupid. I look so dumb. I love it so much. I'm going to walk around with these on. I really should audit a police station wearing this. It's really the mustache that does it. This is fun, but this sells it. Blind Justice is a sovereign citizen. Have I seen... Who was it that was pointing out Blind Justice to me? Hold on. I can't see anything through these glasses. It's really a problem. Maybe I was watching Blind Justice videos. No, YouTube, I don't need your information about the COVID virus. Blind Justice. Peace activism. Oh, no, stop it. Oh, arrested again. Do you guys want to watch Blind Justice get arrested? Yeah, I can't see anything with these glasses on. Oh, you know what? No, I do remember Blind Justice. Yeah, because he has... I have seen Blind Justice. Blind Justice is not who I'm thinking of. But... I know, I've seen Blind Justice do some good stuff. I've seen some stuff where... he was definitely not correct. But... there have been things that he has drawn attention to. Have warrant officers been phased? No, warrant officers are still there. We still have warrant officers. Not in... Well, again, I keep saying obviously, as if you guys... I'm sorry. When I say obviously, just slap me through your screen. Not every job, not every MOS, military occupational specialty, has warrant officers. I think. Maybe they all do. No, they definitely not all of them do. I don't think they're a warrant officer. Well, now I'm just going to say something stupid and someone's going to call me out on it. There are warrant officers in certain jobs. I don't think there are warrant officers in every job, but they do still exist, yes. Oh, I do, yes! Yes, the Blind Justice thing. He got arrested for trespassing in a church parking lot. Yeah, he was on the private church property. He's in a back driveway to the church. Good old Auditing America too. I do remember seeing that, Gary. He was not correct. He definitely should not have been, unless he had permission from that church. He definitely should not have been there. Warrant officers are still very prevalent in aviation. They exist. 31 Bravos don't have warrant officers. 31 Deltas. 31 Bravo being military police. 31 Delta is special agent. You can be if you go warrant officer as a military police, it's basically to become a special agent within CID. So yes, CID I know has warrant officers. I know aviation has warrant officers. There are other things that have warrant officers I'm not super familiar with. But warrant officer is basically either between a non-commissioned officer and a commissioned officer. It's basically someone who is very specialized in that field, an expert essentially. But not everyone. It's sort of its own like separate system. It's not like you go E1 to E9, then W1 to W5, then O1 to whatever. You can go from enlisted to officer or enlisted to warrant to officer, but if you go enlisted to warrant, you generally don't go officer because you're already essentially an officer. It's a thing. Sergeants are not warrant officers. CPOs, I don't believe. Yeah, Gary. I don't know why he'd need to unless he's like, well, unless he was recording it for someone else to review it for him. But at that point, like, bring someone with you. You'd think, right? I'm not trying to bash him, and maybe he has very good reason for doing what he's doing. But that arrest, where he was, on that church property, if he had just been a little more compliant with a police officer, he would have been fine. It's that simple. If he had just been like, oh, yeah, here's my ID. Oh, I'm just here playing Pokemon Go. I'm so sorry. I will leave. Right? If he'd been a little less confrontational. I think he was a little confrontational. I don't remember the exact details. I definitely watched that video, though. It wouldn't have been a problem. If you're wrong and you're friendly, like, police officers aren't out there to get you. Most of them. I wasn't. And most of the people I worked with were not. They're not out there to get you. So if you just be like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, I had no idea. Thank you so much for letting me know. The police officer's going to probably give you the benefit of the doubt. It's really that simple. They're people. Like, police officers are people. They are reasonable. Most of them. Oh, CPO warrant officer. What is a CP? Are we talking about civilian police officer or chief petty officer? Acronyms, man. After MP, did I ever pursue a police department job after you got out? I wanted to. But, again, people in my life were like, no, don't do it. It's dangerous. And I found a very good job that doesn't have the same level of risk, that it matched what I was looking for, but it's not technically law enforcement. It's not, enforcing law. We'll say that. So, well, Maddie, disorderly conduct is tricky because you have to balance it against the First Amendment. If they are emitting unreasonable noise, you can charge them. But then you have to prove that you were charging them based on the unreasonable noise and not the content of their speech. So if they're saying, like, F the police very loudly, you're going to have to defend the fact that you're like, no, it was because they were yelling and not because I was, upset with what they were saying, which makes it kind of tricky. Disorderly conduct it can be very difficult to enforce simply because there are certain things that are protected by the First Amendment. So there are a lot of the way that it gets very, very complicated in court. But Repo Man, the link to the to his arrest, because I can find that church video. We can watch that. And this isn't me getting upset with or saying that blind justice is bad. I've seen some good things. I've seen some bad things. But in that instance, I don't believe I agreed with it. Let's watch it again. Why not? Church. If anyone has that link, by the way. Arrested again. All right. The audio is really weird in this one, if I remember correctly. So I'll try to help you with the audio because, streaming audio get a little weird. And if my audio is wrong, I got a lot of people that complain after the stream is posted, like, why isn't your audio fixed? Like, I don't know. I can't hear my audio. I have no idea. You guys got to let me know in the stream. So nothing against you guys, obviously. If you guys can hear it, you guys can hear it. Great. But if there's anything you need adjusting, just let me know, and I will try to fix it for you. Why does YouTube pay these auditors? Yeah, breach of the peace is disorderly conduct, but again, you have to weigh it against what exactly is protected by the First Amendment. It gets really tricky. And there are a lot of good defenses for it in court for these auditors. Why does YouTube pay these auditors? A lot of them don't actually get paid, from what I understand. A lot of them don't have... a lot of them, their videos don't get monetized fully. So they have the support of their community. And it's if I were to run an anti-police channel, oh my God, the amount of support I would have. It's because the community will support each other to a fault. Like, it's incredible. And I'm getting distracted from the video. It is something I want to discuss. If you run an anti-police YouTube channel and you do it reasonably well, you will gain followers like you won't believe. And good for you. You know, fine. I have no problem with that. But if you're not careful, it's going to be for nothing, because YouTube's not going to give you money for it if you're too aggressive, if you're too insulting. But the more aggressive and insulting you are, sometimes the more followers you get. And it does pay to sort of start calm and get more aggressive so that you have a following to back you up. But that's a whole... I'm not going to teach you guys how to get money from auditing. You can figure that out on your own. No, yeah, if I'm not going to run an anti-police channel. I went out and audited just to be like, look, I did it, guys. You know, now I can... Those of you who are complaining that I don't know what I'm talking about because I never audited it, there you go. I wasn't comfortable doing it. I did not enjoy doing it. I didn't enjoy putting camera in people's faces. And I didn't put a camera in people's faces. But, you know, I thought to myself, should I, like, follow this person with a camera? No. Because that's a weird thing to do. And this person, you know, what have they done to deserve that kind of harassment, whether or not the harassment is actually illegal? So I just was out in public with a camera. And there were zero issues. I was literally in front of the main police station, the city hall, and the municipal court, all in the same, 100-foot area. And I just was on the sidewalk, filming people, no issues, for half an hour. If I had started to become a nuisance, obviously there would have been an issue, because of course there's going to be an issue. But I didn't enjoy it. I didn't have fun doing it. I didn't think it was something that, I should be doing as a, human being. So, it's the sweater vest. That's why I look like a professor. I'll tell you what, though, the sweater vest is really useful. One, it hides body armor. I would wear this as an investigator in civilian clothes. It hides body armor really well, and people underestimate a man in a sweater vest. And I wanted nothing more for someone to... it never happened, but I wanted someone to try to fight me while I was wearing this, so I could be like, yeah, how does it feel to get beaten by a dude in a sweater vest? Because they don't expect that. I know how to fight. But they're very comfortable. They're super comfortable. I say we bring them back, Get more people in on the sweater vest situation. All right. Put in your comments. All right. Let's look at this video. There it is. All right, I'll get it out of the way. And you know what? I would love to be a professor, police officer. I keep getting distracted by you guys, and I don't mind. I would love to be in some sort of training field where I go, hey, let's discuss this topic, and I give it directly to police officers, or I give it directly to the public. I would love to be an educator and teach this stuff directly to people. And that's one of the reasons I enjoy this channel so much, is because I get to, and especially my live streams. My live streams are kind of like, whatever. I get to interact with you. If you're watching it after the fact, you're not going to get much out of it. I mean, you might, but it's more of having a conversation with you guys. So when people are like, oh, I watched this after the fact, why is there so much, time where you're not speaking? Well, it's because it's not really designed to be viewed after the fact. It's so I can interact directly with you. The ones I want to be viewed after the fact are the ones that I actually edit together. And I'm not saying anything like don't watch my streams after the fact. It's just that this is my chance to interact directly with you. So I love it. I have a lot of fun. And here I am just complaining about my viewers. Not really. You guys are great. Like, how dare you call me out? Okay. Oh, that's loud. It's not a church parking lot. They're in like a back. It's not. So they're saying it's a church parking lot. What's going on? Why is this cop here? Someone sent me pictures of exactly where they were. And it's oh, you can't, yeah, the audio is sort of terrible. Which is why I'm stopping it to sort of address it. They're in like a barely developed road behind the church. But the audio is really terrible.
So what's going on? Well, I mean, what's going on?
Asking for ID. Look, you've been basically pulled over. You're in a running vehicle. The officer's asking for ID.
What's going on?
You can see he's filming right here, it looks like.
What's the reason why you're trying to identify us? Okay. So do you have a lawful reason for the stop? Do you have a reasonable articulable suspicion?
I don't like that the officer said, like, I want your ID because you might be wanted. That's the wrong move. He's technically right, but his justification isn't correct necessarily. It should be, oh, why do you need my ID? Because you are trespassing in a church parking lot. And I have probable cause to believe you're committing a crime, essentially. Well, at least reasonable suspicion. Where was this? This was, you get all sorts of weird ads because I'm on.
What crime you suspect?
Rockingham Sheriff. Madison Police Department. Is that Madison, Wisconsin?
There's a crime being committed?
Do you want to keep this window? Yes or no? 'Cause I'm about
Oh!
to put it out if you don't start giving me some ID.
Okay.
You want this window or not? All right, we're gonna look up. What is it? Rockingham. Where is he exactly? North Carolina. Is North Carolina a stop and ID state? Stop and ID state. Assuming this is correct. North Carolina, are you here? North Dakota is. All right, so North Carolina is not. Although, the question becomes, let's check right here. Is it a traffic stop because they're in a vehicle which is running? Which I would say, well, they're not on a public road, but they are trespassing. So there are some questions to be asked. Well, they have to have reasonable articulatable. Words are hard. They have to have RAS, stray dog, for a traffic stop. Once they do a traffic stop, they don't need RAS for the. I mean, they already have it because they've initiated the traffic stop. The driver in every state is required to provide ID if they've been pulled over. Now, the question becomes: does this count as being pulled over? Because they're not actually moving. Well, it's not a moving violation, but is it a traffic stop for trespassing? So that would honestly depend on how North Carolina treats it. I know that where I enforced law, it was valid, but it's a little more complicated than you might think.
We're recording this? Oh, hey.
But he does know where to point the camera. You're right.
Let's get a supervisor, please.
I need your supervisor, please. I need your supervisor. I am very scared of you.
I am the supervisor.
Oh, do you have a supervisor that's over you?
Yeah, suspicious vehicle parked in a place that is not currently open to the public, right? Like a church is open to the public during church hours. It is not open to the public during non-church hours unless it's specifically posted, generally, right? Again, depending on the laws of that state. But they shouldn't be there, right? They have no good reason to be there. Yeah, okay, they're playing games on their phone. Go play in somewhere else. If you're asking for a supervisor,
Okay.
police are not
You're the
required to
sheriff,
provide a
obviously.
supervisor. They're not required to provide a sheriff.
No, you don't need a sheriff. You're in the town.
Right. Right.
You're gonna give me
The sheriff has jurisdiction here too.
And it's true the sheriff does have jurisdiction in that town. So sheriff enforces law in the county. He enforces law in the town. The sheriff would have jurisdiction, but you're not going to call a sheriff to this. There's no requirement for them to do that.
Give me your ID. Roll down the window now.
What is the reason?
I'm about to bust your window out. Give me
Oh, by the way, police do not have to give you a reason. It is a good idea to give a reason, and they better have a reason. They're not required to give you a reason upon request in most states. So being like, I'm gonna, give me, I will give you your ID if you give me a reason. It's not gonna fly.
Okay, that's illegal.
No, it's not illegal. Give me your IDs now.
What is the reason you're asking for the ID?
You got about
Stray dog suspicion isn't a crime, but it's enough for reasonable suspicion that a crime is occurring. They even have the same word, suspicion, in them.
2 seconds before a window's getting busted out.
Can you tell us the reason?
I don't know what that weird
What
like
is-
hiccup noise
Put my
thing is.
hand down. Listen, I'm afraid to put my hand down because I don't want you to say that.
Afraid to.
Window down. That's all.
The windows.
If you're afraid to put your hand down, put your hand on the wheel. Then if they're saying put your window down, slowly move it over and press the window button. All right? If you're afraid to put your hands down, this is a great spot to have them. Very visible. Or if you're in the passenger seat on the dashboard, if you are afraid, you don't have to do that. Again, don't be like reaching under you and stuff. That is going to be a problem. But if you're actually afraid that a police officer is going to do something that everyone's going to regret, hands on the dashboard is good. Hands on the steering wheel is good.
That's correct.
You can put your hand down there and roll the window down.
You can hear us, right?
I'm really scared of you.
Hold on.
I'm really scared of you.
Tags are valid. All right, so they cup. I'm sorry about this cup, guys. It's so weird. Oh, that's so weird. Ooh. All right. I'm thirsty. Can't help it. I talk a lot. So they're saying tags are valid through NCIC. NCIC is where they check information, tags, license plates, names. I think that sounds about right. Yeah. So they're saying yeah, the tags come back to a valid registration of the vehicle, so on and so forth. Not super important, but just a bit of fun information.
We're afraid of you.
You won't be real afraid. I'm gonna bust
I are.
We're afraid of you. You're gonna be real afraid. I'm gonna bust this window. Not the most professional interaction, but I respect it.
I'm afraid. Why?
For what crime?
Why?
Being afraid of a police officer is generally not going to justify not providing ID to them, by the way.
no private property back here.
Private property,
Your ID.
Can you tell me what
trespassing.
crime you
Tre-
suspect us of committing?
Trespassing.
It's cold out.
Like, again, he doesn't have to provide that
It's cold.
information immediately.
Please don't
Please
smash the window.
Please don't smash my window. I don't
Oh,
wanna
it's about to go
hurt you.
down.
Stop.
Please stop.
Stop.
What do you?
All right, so they know the window's about to get smashed. They're like, we're afraid of you. Please don't smash the window. We're afraid. You're going to be a lot less afraid if you comply, which I believe you are legally required to do in this situation. Again, if they were correct, this is a fight they'd want to have in court, not on the street. Okay? Not a fight they want to have on the street. They can fight it in court and say, we were unlawfully induced to, provide ID, that sort of thing, violated our Fourth Amendment rights, protecting us against unreasonable search and seizure, so on and so forth.
What do you need?
But it's very clear that he's about to break their window. Failing to comply at this point is not going to help you.
Are you?
Can you
help
help?
us?
Can you
Help
stop?
me, please.
What is going on?
Please, there's somebody on.
So that is what I'm talking about. Are they driving, right? That depends on the state. I don't know how, is this North Carolina? I don't know how they treat driving. In many places, though, driving, if you're in the driver's seat and your keys are in the ignition and the vehicle is turned on, which it is, I believe, it certainly appears to be, that is considered driving. So the questions to be asked. Is that the case in North Carolina? I do not know. It's worth looking into. Certainly, for their own defense, absolutely, it's worth looking into. Additionally, the question in North Carolina is, can a traffic stop be... Is it a traffic stop if they're not on a public roadway? Now, they are on a roadway, but it's not a public roadway, which means that they are technically trespassing if they don't have permission to be there, which is a crime. I mean, this guy has probable cause, essentially, that they're committing a crime. So, can he ask for ID just based on that? And it really comes down... I mean, if I was doing a review of this video, not on a live stream, I would have all that information. I would have found that out. I would have done a lot of research. We're just going through this. And essentially what I'm doing I'm not going to tell you necessarily exactly what is right or wrong, but I'm going to tell you what sort of things to look for as to, like, who is correct in this situation. Right, they weren't reported by the property owner. That doesn't mean they're not trespassing. If I see someone snooping through someone's garbage cans as a police officer, I'm going to assume that, hey, you can't be here and you're trespassing. Unless you can prove to me otherwise, I'm going to ask you to not be there. I'm going to make contact with the building owner and say, hey, are you cool with this dude snooping through your trash can? Right? They're not. If all they say is, oh, we're with the church, we work here, cool. Then they might have had some sort of defense against this. But the fact is that they decided to make it very clear that they had no business there. Because otherwise it would have been very easy to articulate that.
On your right. Can I tell him you can't see?
Yeah,
He's blind. I want to help. What do I do?
okay, yeah, I'm just
Just a
gonna
second.
start
Can I give you I'll show you my ID. Please don't break.
I don't have one.
I'm gonna get my ID out. I'm getting my ID. It's in my back pocket. It's in my pocket. It's in my pocket. It's in my pocket.
All right, get your ID. It's in your pocket. Get your ID.
I don't have one. I'm blind. I don't have a driver's
Well, he doesn't
license.
have a driver's license.
That's fair. All right, so he doesn't have a driver's license. Makes sense if he's blind, right? He still has to identify himself. So generally that would be your name, and then depending on where you are, it's going to be date of birth or place of residence. I don't think they ask for Social Security anymore because they're trying to phase that out in most places. But, you have to give something. So, also, in many states, you're required to actually hand over the driver's license, not just show the driver's license. Some states you only have to show it. But in the place where you have to hand it, it's basically so the police officers can actually physically inspect it to make sure it's not a fake. Fun facts, things to learn, things that I would recommend looking up in your own state to find out whether or not you actually have to provide ID, physically hand it over, or if you just have to show that you have it.
You ain't got an ID at all?
No. I'd rather not hand it to you. I will show you my ID. Come on, man.
Give me the ID.
He's threatening to hurt you, so just do
Here.
what he says.
Stop seeing my ID.
All right. So she's shaking quite a bit. She's shaking quite a bit. At this point, it is worth trying to de-escalate the situation. I'm not saying the police officer's wrong for not de-escalating, but that is something to pay attention to. Are they being non-compliant because they're aggressive? Are they being non-compliant because they're terrified? And a scared person is not necessarily going to make good decisions. It is often in a police officer's best interest to ensure that things don't escalate, because it will be more effective in many instances, not every instance, to try to keep people calm. And I'm, again, not saying that anyone's wrong here, but I'm just pointing out things that are worth looking into to determine exactly who is at fault or who is wrong in the situation. I don't know. I'm just rambling at this point.
Now, can you please step back?
Even fake shaking, I mean, it would be a concern.
Why would you have an ID?
I don't think she's faking.
Who you are?
No.
Why do you need to know who he is?
If I was on scene, I would not think she was faking, knowing nothing about her.
I'm going to remain silent. I'm going to not talk to you anymore.
All right. You getting out of
There are a lot of small
afraid.
details that
Can we
make me
get- can we
think
get
that...
the sheriff
I don't think he's scared. I think she is scared.
out here, please?
No, you can't.
Will you call the sheriff? You can call the sheriff. Put him on speaker.
And if she's faking it, she is good.
I'm going to call the sheriff.
Just tell your phone to call whatever Rockingham County Sheriff's Office.
It's weird that... Hold on, officer. I'm going to call a different officer. I'm not saying that's a bad move. If you think that someone is impersonating a police officer and has you pulled over, absolutely, call 911 and say, "Is anyone dispatched to my location?" But they're just being ridiculous.
Ask them to come
Call
out.
Rockingham County Sheriff's Department. Oh,
What's the answer on number 7? Am I giving you guys a test?
Rockingham.
Why do you want the window down, sir?
Get out of the car. Put the car off, get out of the car.
Why do you want us out
I
of the car?
gave you my ID.
Any more chances?
But I gave you my ID.
I'm gonna take you out of the car.
I'm calling the sheriff.
Why? We don't.
Again, Stray Dog, it's the issue is they're trespassing. It's not the fact that he can't see them. That has very little to do with it. But if you fail to identify yourself to a police officer, they want to initiate an arrest, they can absolutely break your window and pull you out of that car. So I'm not really sure why that would win their case. He's not being he's kind of being a little more aggressive than I would be, but if they're trespassing, that's illegal. They're not in a parking lot. They're on like a back road to a church, which is not open at that time.
We don't.
And if it's a private parking lot, yes, it can be illegal for them to be in there.
Yeah. Let's get the sheriff on the phone because we don't feel safe with you here.
Hi, is it?
So right now he's trying to get her out of he's trying to open the door. He should have done that earlier. Fun thing about opening doors as a police officer is people often lock their individual door, but they'll often forget to lock the entirety of the vehicle. So if someone locks their door, I've had instances where I'm like, "Oh, you're gonna lock me out," and I've had like another officer on the other side of the vehicle, I'm like, "Hey, open that door." Cool. They only locked the driver's side. They didn't lock the passenger side. So you open the door and the driver's just like, "Oh man." Then you go, "You gonna get out or what?" And they're usually very compliant at that point. But yeah, if you lock the door, a police officer has the authority to order you out of the vehicle, and that comes from Pennsylvania versus Mims during a traffic stop. And again, if this is considered a traffic stop, depending on how it's called in, what is considered driving, a whole lot of factors. The fact that a traffic stop is dangerous enough on its own without any other factors. The Supreme Court has basically said, yes, a police officer can order you out of the vehicle just simply for the fact that it is a traffic stop. So, yeah, she should be exiting the vehicle. It's not going to help you to lock yourselves in the vehicle. They will get in. Yeah, no, I mean, you don't arrest them and figure it out later. I assume this guy knows a bit more about the local law than I do. And if he's wrong, they'll absolutely win in court, and good for them, and they get money from it. But this is something you want to fight in court, not on the streets.
Sheriff's Department?
Open the door.
I need help.
Open the door.
We're in Madison, in the town of Madison. We have people that are threatening to smash our window. They're saying they're police.
Yeah, if you call the sheriff and say, "This police officer is doing this thing," it's generally going to be, cool, comply with them. We'll figure it out later. File a complaint if you think they're wrong. So it's...
But they're not telling us that there's a crime. They're threatening to throw us out of the car.
Again, they don't have to tell you what the crime is.
You know what the address is here? Sir? We're on the phone with the sheriff's office.
It actually depends on your particular department who you work for.
We need to...
But sometimes it will be you don't have to tell them the crime. Sometimes it's you don't have to tell them the crime until it is basically safe to do so, right? So in this case, if you tell them the crime, it might just escalate the situation, which is generally like I get their IDs before I tell them the crime. I say I will tell you exactly why I have you here. Once you give me your ID, because once I have their ID, if they panic because of whatever I pulled them over for, or stopped them for, or am interacting with them for, they panic and run, cool, I have their ID. Now I don't have to chase them and endanger lives. So generally a police officer, or oftentimes, not generally, but it is not necessarily a bad idea to wait until you have someone's ID to tell them what the crime is. So if you're like, I'm not going to give you my ID until you tell me the crime, probably not going to fly. Yeah, why are they even calling the sheriff? This isn't the city. That's something that this officer's like, we're in the city, dude. I have jurisdiction here. I've pulled you over, not the sheriff. Sometimes you have to fight on the streets. I would not recommend fighting this on the streets, because what if you're wrong? Right now, if you see a police officer, you know, whipping out a knife and stabbing people, cool. Well, now there are some significant issues, but this is not something like that at all.
Supervisor here because
Down the window.
what you're doing is illegal, sir. What you're doing?
It's not illegal.
Yes,
I'm
it is.
behind
It's not.
Madison United Methodist Church in Madison.
Madison United Methodist Church. Let's see if we can find that on Google Maps. And I'll try to find you exactly where it was pointing out to me where they were. Madison United. What was it they said it was? Madison United
It's not.
Madison United Methodist Church.
Methodist Church. And what town were they in? Was it Madison, North Carolina? Is this the one? If I remember correctly, they were like somewhere weird. Is it Wisconsin? If it's Wisconsin, that's much worse for them. Hold on. Rockingham County. Let's see if there's a Rockingham County, Wisconsin. Rockingham County, Wisconsin. Virginia. Oh, there's so many of them. Oh, I don't know where they were exactly. Where? Madison. Please, we're going to find this. We're going to figure this out. Madison Police, Rockingham County. It is North Carolina. Okay. Yeah, it has in the video description, but it's you know, a few places. So let's see if we can figure out what it looks like they are. So there's the street. So they might be here, but again, if they're in a church parking lot, like there's no one's in a church parking lot at night. And I remember seeing a picture of them being on or the location being like this back street, back here, and that could be wrong. I wish I remembered who sent that to me. So regardless, this is private property. This church right here, to include the parking lot. So there should be no reason that they're there. And okay, they're playing Pokemon Go. Cool. That is something you tell the police officer, and you go, "Oh, I'm sorry, officer. I was playing Pokemon Go. Do you mind if would you like me to move to a different location to do that?" And the officer can be like, "Yeah, sure, but you still have to provide me ID." And cool, you're on someone else's property, so you still got to provide ID. Criminal justice is bizarre. Yeah, Florida does have a weird criminal justice system. In the field right behind the church, and they very well might be. They very well might be. It's a weird place.
Church in Madison.
All right, 550. Let me see if I can figure out any clues here.
The windows.
There is a street there. There's a building there. We're sleuthing, folks. Is there a building here? There's a building here. I feel like that's the First Citizens Bank that we're seeing right here. Because that doesn't look like a house. So by this parking lot, it's a bunch of houses. Oh, gosh. By this parking lot, there's a bunch of houses. That, in the video, does not look like a house. It looks maybe more like a bank, which we see here. Or maybe it's Bob's Catering Restaurant. That wouldn't be near the church. I think they might be on this back area here. So, could be wrong. They might be over here, pointing this way. I don't know. What's Gem Dandy? You're getting distracted, folks. What? Personally would not want to work here. I have no idea what this is. As a wholesaler. Okay. Weird. Yeah. unfortunately, we don't get much of a view. But regardless of where they are, this is not a public parking lot. It is for the public during business hours, which are not happening. Yes, well, the cop doesn't know if they have permission, but if they have permission, that is the first thing that should come out of their mouth.
Put your hand down there.
The one with the blue dot right behind the field. Hold on. Are we talking about this right here? Might be over here. Oh. No, because there was a street. Is that the building? Nah, because there's a street right here. Unless that street is behind that building.
You can hear us, right?
That street might be behind the building. Is there... Can I drop it? No. We're sleuthing, folks. No, I'm not going to be able to tell anything. If I could go in there. Oh. That's the building right there. That's the building. That's the building. Oh my God. And there's the bank. So they would have been... Is this the church? They would have been in here. On this little road here. I think. Hold on. Let me get my bearings. Alright, so if the church is here... You see the building here. So they would have been... Yeah, that's the building that we see here. I think. It definitely matches. So we can assume there's somewhere here? Is this the church? What is... What is... No. Is there a road? Guys, I'm amazing. Look at me. Alright, there's a parking lot. Are they here? What's going on? Alright, hold on. Let's... We're completely sidetracked. We're going to figure this out. You guys messed up. I've lost the building. No, where to go? Where to go? Where to go? Is it this way? Here-ish. Here it is. Here it is. Here it is. All right. So we can look right there. And Kathy Smith, Raymond James, whatever that is. There's a road right there. They're over here facing that way. Road. So they're inwards a little bit. And they're directly across from it. Which would put them here-ish. So let's go... Yeah, they're like... That's the restaurant. There's the street. They're somewhere here. So are they here? That's someone's house. Are they here? Just parked at an angle? Are they at an angle? It might be at an angle. I think they are here. Right in here. Parked in this kind of angle. Facing, we can see this way. That's not public. That's not even close to the, like a parking lot. Cool, I can understand. It's still private. That's suspicious. So, people look up for, guys, it's difficult to find some of these. We got lucky. We got real lucky. I was about to give up before I saw that. I honestly think they were right in here. And then angled this way. Yeah, I can see the angle here and the angle there. So they weren't parallel. Northeast in the church. Parked in the field. Okay. So Auto Lyncher is confirming in here. Definitely suspicious. All right.
Madison United Methodist.
We found it, guys. We figured it out. We know exactly where they are now. That's exciting news.
It's Madison United Methodist Church.
Yeah, so she's talking to the sheriff, I guess.
And, I don't know why he's threatening violence.
because you won't get out of the car or provide ID. So he has the authority to arrest you and break into your vehicle if necessary. Assuming, of course, that he's allowed to detain them in the first place, which we can assume he is because they appear to be trespassing.
He hasn't stated any crime or reason for stopping. What's the crime? We were on the way out when you stopped us.
Yeah, on the way out when he stopped them. Okay. Great detective work. Couldn't have done it without all of you. You guys, good job, you.
I'm not talking. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking
No,
to this guy.
we're talking. You're trying to talk to them.
Stop. Stop.
Oh,
Please, don't.
it's about to happen.
Don't.
Why?
Once that other officer comes to the other side. Once the gloves start coming on. If you're ever in a situation where you think the police are about to smash your window and you think they're bluffing, once those gloves come on, they're not. It's go time at that time. Like, once those gloves start getting put on, they're like, all right, cool. You better roll down that window because they're coming in.
Why?
Yeah, they did state, like, you're trespassing on private property. They've stated that by now. They absolutely said that.
You're gonna break my window.
Not if you roll it down or exit your vehicle. They're not going to break it if you do those things. It's that simple. Anyway, that's my rant.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm listening to you, sir.
You can outrun them. Don't do that.
Department.
It's North Carolina State where failing to
We're
identify
afraid-
is an arrestable offense. If during a traffic stop, I believe so. In this case, they're not being arrested for failure to ID. This is how I would articulate it. Like, Your Honor, I didn't arrest them for failure to ID. I arrested them for trespassing. Something they failed to explain their way out of. They were arrested for that. I asked them to provide ID. They did not do that. And of course, they can be like, no, he was definitely arresting us for ID. And it'll be a fight to be had. I would have handled it differently than this officer. I do have some complaints about what he did. I think there are certain things. But you're doing this on the spot. You're doing it live. You don't get to go back and fix your mistakes. So understand that police officers will make mistakes. A good officer will try to correct themselves in real time. But it is very challenging. If you've never been in this kind of situation trying to, do this sort of thing, it does get very difficult. And so mistakes are made, and hopefully they're not big mistakes, and hopefully you correct yourself and go, actually, hold on a second, let me retract that. So if he's misspoken, it comes down to, is it reasonable for him to have misspoken in that way based on the circumstances? It's the whole thing. There's a lot that a lot of people don't take into consideration about being a police officer, is you have to be able to do all of this in real time, live. You don't get a second chance. You're interacting with real people. They're unpredictable. You don't know what's going to happen. Not only do you have to cite the law and do everything properly, you have to make sure you don't die, right? And obviously that's not an excuse for bad cops. Like, if you're not good at that, get better. Learn, research, but just something to think about.
He's gonna hurt us.
Yeah, let's see. He's given him a lot of chances, Now, as an officer, I mean, I'd give a lot of chances too, but I only really have to give 3, and I don't even have to give 3. I do that out of respect. I'm going to ask you to do something. I'm going to tell you to do something, and then I'm going to make you do something. And of course, I'm not going to have a problem with that as long as I give you a reasonable amount of time between each request. I would say, hey. Step out of. Would you mind stepping out of your vehicle? No? Okay. Well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm ordering you at this point to step out of your vehicle. Do you understand? I like to add that. I always like to make sure they understand. That's for legal defense purposes. No? Okay. Well, here's what's going to happen. I will now make you get out of that vehicle. I'm going to walk towards your vehicle, and if you aren't in the process of exiting it, I will assist you with that. Do you understand? Still not moving. Cool. And now I'm going to smash it. Boom. That's really all I have to do. Am I going to do that? No, I'm going to give you more chances than that. Do I have to give you more chances than that? No. No, I do not.
We're afraid. We're afraid. He's threatening violence because he's threatening to hurt our car, to destroy our properties. We don't feel safe.
Last chance. There we go. All right, she's finally rolling in the window. Good.
Please stop.
Oh, it's sped up.
Okay,
Is it?
Yeah.
That's weird.
They're threatening violence.
Yep. That's a good move. So they'll take that hand, and once they take your hand like that, be very compliant. Because what they'll do if you're not is they'll bend it around the A pillar of your vehicle, and it will just like fling you out of the vehicle. And it's kind of amazing to watch, and it's not fun to be the subject of. I promise you that. As someone who's done that in training,
Okay, just do. Yeah.
that is the wrong time to fight.
Please don't touch me. Please.
The blind guy. I mean, maybe he heard the door opening. You know, maybe.
Okay,
I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt because I'm not this guy's enemy. I'm not here to bash him, but we will try to objectively review what's happening. That's what the passenger says.
What are you doing? We do not consent to.
Oh yeah, no, the door hadn't opened. That's a good question. What are you doing? And he might not be fully blind. A lot of people who are blind are only partially blind, right? They're technically blind enough to be legally blind, but they can still see. And sometimes it's just very blurry. Sometimes they can't see in their peripherals, and they only have like very small viewpoints, I guess. So maybe that's what he has. I assume that he's not fully blind. I assume. But is it blind enough to be legally blind?
PTSD. I have multiple brain injuries. I'm blind. Okay.
If you have PTSD and multiple brain injuries and you're blind, why would you think that resisting is going to be the correct thing to do? Right? And this is something I brought up with Bell for Freedom in my Johnny 5-0 video. She has a cast on her leg. She has an injury, allegedly. I have no reason to doubt that she doesn't. Or does. And she and Johnny took his video down about this. I was able to get some of it for my video to discuss it. But she and Johnny 5-0 are filming in a VA hospital, which they can absolutely restrict. And police eventually come, and they're giving so many warnings over like the course of an hour. They're like, you need to leave, you need to leave, you need to leave. Police are here, you need to leave. Police are going to remove you. Please leave, 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 leave. And then it isn't until a police officer is very gently putting her hands behind her back to put handcuffs on her that she falls over like, oh, my leg. And maybe something went wrong with her leg, but she's been standing on it for an hour. And all of a sudden, the police officers gently, it was very gentle, put her hands behind her back. And now, oh no, she suddenly collapsed. First of all, I have some doubt. And the auditing community it's very against me in this, but I'm sorry, I have my doubts. And two, if you have these injuries, why would you choose to be non-compliant and put yourself in a situation which is going to injure you more? Because that officer is not going to get in trouble for that. That officer did not do anything improper with the arrest. You're just hurting yourself at that point. So if you have all of these issues, all of these medical and physical issues, this probably isn't something that you should be doing in the first place. Now, maybe you still want to be part of the auditing community as someone who, gives advice. Like Brian King, for example. I like Brian King. He's a very nice guy. I show up on his audit sometimes. He is deaf, partially or fully. I'm not really sure. And he doesn't audit on his own because that is one of the reasons. That's a very good choice because he's going to get himself in a lot of trouble, potentially, because he won't be able to hear the instructions. Now, can a police officer be wrong in that circumstance? Of course. Police officers should try to, if they have orders that they're giving him, they can at least try to write it down. I knew a guy who knew sign language while I was an officer who was able to assist certain individuals that we encountered who were deaf, which was very uncommon for us. But it happened, and we're like, oh yeah, I know sign language. Cool. Or get a notepad and write things down. But there are certain circumstances you don't have time to do that, and you have to give orders and have them obeyed immediately. And while if there is an incident, maybe no one is at fault, officers are probably going to be fine because things had to be done immediately in the interest of what was happening. So it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. If he has all these issues that he claims he has, I don't think that this is something he should be doing. It comes down to common sense, right? And yes, it's a good idea to protest for the things you believe in and be an activist if you truly believe in it. This country gives you the right to do that. But understand your own limitations, right? I'm not trying to be an Olympic athlete, right? How cool would that be? I would love to be an Olympic athlete. I'm not physically capable of doing that, so I'm not going to do that. does that mean I can't still support people who want to be Olympic athletes? No, just an example. So if he wants to be part of this auditing community, maybe there's a better place for him. I'm not saying he shouldn't go out and audit. I'm just saying, just a thought. Anyway, let's keep going.
Do you have a disability coordinator, please? I need somebody to help me communicate because I do not feel safe. She doesn't feel safe. She's got disability.
Need someone to help him communicate.
That's why this is hard for us to communicate what's going on. You understand that? I'm requesting.
Oh boy, we're gonna pause that because Auditor Lyncher has asked an amazing question. You ever get hassled by dispatch when Corvette? I don't know. Like, no, dude. The phonetic alphabet's a thing. It should be standard. It's not that hard to learn. It really isn't that hard to learn. So it's always weird. Like, what? Because he used the military phonetic alphabet instead of the one your agency wants you to use. Now, my agency wanted me to use the military phonetic alphabet. I still use the military phonetic alphabet and everything. When I see police officers going, ABC is like Adam. So we were never hassled about that because that was specifically requested. But a lot of the people in dispatch in our 911 call center were not law enforcement. So we would use various, or they weren't military, sorry. Probably not law enforcement either. Some of them might have been. Some of them were really great. Some of them not so much. But you'd use certain codes that were more common in military. Oh gosh, I'm trying to think of an example. Like every once in a while we'd say over on the radio because that's something you do in combat environments, something we're trained on. And so, I mean, you use a radio, you're going to slip into some habits that you use on other radios. But yeah, I'm at this location, over. And dispatch would get like weirdly upset about that. Like, you don't have to say over, like, copy, over, right? Like, don't come at me like that. I accidentally said over, and yeah, oops, that's a military thing and not a police thing. We don't have to do that. But it's obvious that our training is going to overlap a little bit in that sense. So there are certain things where like the military radio etiquette would come over, would be said, and they'd kind of be like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "Stop! This isn't a difficult concept to understand. You guys should be able to figure out exactly what we're saying, right? You work on our 911 call center is on a military installation. This is not my fault. Like, I should not be the one expected not to be like a soldier to a certain degree. Just my thought, just my words, on it, my thoughts, my views. What's another good one? It's I'll think of something later. I'll be disappointed I didn't bring it up to you guys. Excuse me. But there are certain things that they'd call us out for, like, and they were stupid things to call it out for. Like, obviously it's not a real issue, but I digress. Let's see what happens here. Blah 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 blah, everything's black. I want to see an arrest. It's a bunch of black. Okay, so those are the details, and that is my commentary on it. Can I say for sure that he was wrong? No. I'd have to review North Carolina law, which isn't too difficult. If you guys really want me to do that, I can. But do I agree with what he did? No. I think that there were better options that he could have taken. He and I believe that was his wife? His driver, we'll say. Do I think that if he takes us to court, he's going to win easily? No, because he was in a field by a church in a running car. I think there's enough suspicion to facilitate an arrest, regardless of whether or not he decided to ID himself. Right? Now, if they had ID'd themselves and nothing came back, the officer might not have affected that arrest. Might have been like, all right, cool, well, there's nothing wrong, you can't be here. But if they're going to arrest, unless, like that, if they're trespassing, that's grounds for an arrest. If they're told that they need to leave and they fail to leave, and there's a whole thing, right? And generally, that would be grounds for an arrest. The ID in that circumstance, how I would argue this in court, if I were that police officer, again, I would have handled this differently. So I wouldn't have had to argue this in the first place, hopefully. But I would have said, look, you're trespassing. If you present an ID and nothing comes back, I'll let you leave. Otherwise, I am arresting you because I have enough evidence to arrest you for trespassing. or to charge you for it, regardless of the ID. The ID is just to help you, but I don't need your ID to do this arrest. It's basically how it should have gone down, and I'm sure that's how they will argue in court if they have to. Jail naked in a cell. Yeah, that you don't usually end up. If you're naked in a cell, that's usually on your own volition, right? You're given clothes in a jail cell, generally. I've never seen someone naked in a cell, and I never worked corrections, so maybe someone here can correct me on that. But generally, you aren't just left in a cell naked. You're given some clothing, or you got to keep the clothing you're wearing. And if you're naked, it's because you stripped down. And I've seen people strip down in a cell on their own, and it's always very uncomfortable. I've seen some real weird things with naked people, but they had clothes. They decided to take them off. They were not asked to take them off. They were, in fact, asked very, strongly to put them back on. What's this you're sending me, Repo Man? What's this you're sending me? All right, let me see if I can pull that up. Because remember, on the stream, it does weird things with the links for whatever reason. 1080. Oh, I don't know. I don't remember any of these codes anymore. In every location, the codes are different. I can tell you 10.4 is usually, I'm all good. But we didn't usually use all of those codes. It's probably because our dispatch center didn't want us to. No, I've not seen that. People in my Discord are saying things, and oh god. If you want to be part of that Discord, by the way, since you guys are here, might as well. Yeah, I'm not saying that on the stream. No. There you go. Join in. Have a good time. It's 1080 is mentally unstable. Yeah, we've had some of those. I could tell you some stories about that. I'll save it for a different stream. I can't tell you all my stories at once. But yeah. What are your other questions? Give me questions, guys. Ask me questions. Say things. Other cop YouTubers, I think. What was the question? Wait, hold on. Matt. Oh, yeah, sorry. What do you think about other cop YouTubers? I think there are some that are a lot of fun. I enjoy Donut Operator. I think he puts out a lot of good stuff. I think he is very biased. I try to be less biased. And I'm not saying he's wrong, but his biases are fairly clear. And I agree with most of what he's saying. But part of the way I wanted to direct my channel, and there were a lot of reasons I decided to make this, I wanted to be a little more open-minded to attract the crowd that he's not attracting. Right? So he has a lot of very pro law enforcement people that watch his stuff. And auditors have a lot of anti-police people that watch his stuff. There's not really too much in the middle. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take that territory. Mike the Cop, real nice guy. Also has his biases. Of course he does. Everyone has biases. Officer, was it 411? He said some things I disagree with. So I think there are other cops out there that do law enforcement videos on YouTube that are great. And they're worth checking out for the specific types of stuff they put out. 401, that's it. I haven't seen 401 recently, but there are definitely things that I've seen that I was like, a little strong of an argument to make. I can't remember for the life of me what it was. But and nothing against him. If at some point in my life I got to corroborate with Mike the Cop. I'm 401, sure, but Mike the Cop or Donut Operator, I would take that up in a heartbeat. I think that'd be a lot of fun. I think they have some very good knowledge and some very good experience, certainly stuff that I don't have, and I think I have experience that they don't have, and together we would be a crime-fighting machine. But I try to sort of attract a crowd that isn't as pro or anti-law enforcement to try to give an explanation that covers a lot of sides. Oh my cup, yeah. No, it is. It is awful. I need to get a different cup next time. I have tried watching Mike the Cop recently, and it isn't as good as I remember it. I remember him having some really good stuff and being really fun on some of the little skits he did. And he's done an incredible, like everyone, all of them do some incredible things for law enforcement. They donate to various charities and they help a lot of people out. And it's amazing, and I thank them so much for that. And I feel like I'm bashing them. I'm not at all. It's just I'm trying to distinguish myself from them. And I love them. I think most of what they do is great. And I agree with most of what they say. But there are times where I'm just like, ooh, I would have handled that. I would have discussed it differently, right? There are different topics. Audit the Audit did get in touch with me. And there's a very interesting video about some guy getting kicked out of a courtroom that I will be helping him out with. I mean, we had a short discussion. He's like, yeah, I basically agree with what you're saying. So I'm going to be filming a short, minute or two thing that he'll put in his video as, what do I think about it? And hopefully he doesn't make me look terrible during it, hopefully. If he does, cool, I'll stand by what I said. Because I'm not going to put out anything that I don't believe in. But Audit the Audit, I went through some of his stuff, and he's got well put together content. There's a lot of stuff I disagree with. There was one where some guy was wearing a ballistic vest, and an officer pulled his gun on him, and he's like, the officer has no authority to pull his gun on him. But like in the same video, he shows like, here's a case that says like the simple fact that from the state, right? Or here's the simple fact that someone's wearing body armor is enough to make someone believe, to make an officer believe that they are intending to do something dangerous because, or have a firearm on them. Because ballistic vests and firearms go kind of hand in hand. And so he goes, well, but here's the thing, reasonable suspicion is, it goes to court every time. But you have a court case, it's basically the exact same situation. So he's like, yeah, the officer can request his ID based on the fact that he's wearing a ballistic vest. But then he pulls his gun on this guy when he refused to do so. The officer can't do that because at best he's pulling his gun because the guy refused to ID, and the law states that an officer can't do that unless there's like a threat to life. Well, no, they're not pointing the gun because the guy's not IDing. They're pointing the gun because the guy is refusing orders and wearing a ballistic vest and assumed to be armed, which is, confirmed through that court case that you brought up. Right? The officer's not wrong here. And so, I don't know, that was one that bothered me. And there are some good things that he points out, but that one in particular, I was just like, no. And I don't think he means anything bad by it, but it's just like, your logic isn't, like, something happened in the middle there, and that officer was not wrong to pull his weapon, based on the court case that you provided. Because you can assume that this person's armed and not following orders. Is wearing a ballistic vest, and they're not necessarily illegal to wear a ballistic vest. But again, there's the court case. There's case law saying that is enough for reasonable suspicion to detain them. Yeah, no, he shows videos that put cops in a bad light sometimes, and I show videos that put auditors in a bad light. That doesn't mean every auditor's bad or that the auditors don't do good things, and his videos don't mean that the police don't do good things. Just he chooses to put out his content. I choose to put out my content. Lip sync challenge. And nothing against him. That's the content. He's done very well. One of the things he brought up was like, hey, I think I started my channel after you. I'm like, oh, cool. He goes, yeah, it's kind of ironic, isn't it? And I looked at how many subscribers. He has like 150,000 subscribers. I'm like, oh, I see what you're doing. There's a power play right there. Cool. Jerk. No, it's good for him. Nothing but happy thoughts for him. I'm not in this for the money, though. I do this because I enjoy it. It's more of a hobby for me. Auditors are bad. Name a good one. News Now Dallas, I think it was. I had a video on him. I really liked what he was doing. And the knowledge that he had and the research that he put into it. Nasty Nathaniel, someone who shows up in my streams every once in a while. I like Nasty Nathaniel. He researches the locations he goes to. He doesn't push too many envelopes. Some of his editing is a bit cheesy, but there are some that I've seen that I go, this is great. This is what it should be. There are many more that I have seen that I don't like. Auditing America gets a lot wrong. SGV News First, you know how I feel about him. I did 2 videos on him. No, Houston's one that is a little hit or miss. Dallas is one that stopped auditing for a few years, and I believe is back. I don't think I did see the Morro Bay one. So it's Johnny 5-0. Don't like him. I think he gets a lot wrong, and he does get a lot wrong. Ian McGuire, obviously, he's done a lot wrong. He's in jail. Don't like him. James Freeman. James Freeman is almost entirely wrong all the time. Well, that's not fair. That's not fair to say. James Freeman does not know what he's talking about in most cases when it comes to the actual law. If he disagrees with the law, that's fine. But he gets a lot wrong. Oh, who else? And then there are some that are hit or miss, but those are like some of the big ones. Again, what's the point of doing the audit thing if you're not educated in what exactly it is? That's a good question. Why would you? And I put comments on their videos if I see like, no, you're absolutely wrong. I'll try to be polite and respectful about it, unless they're being like a complete jerk, and I'll be a little sassy, right? Extra Good Citizen, I left a comment recently that got it was a big argument between not me and him, but me and another commenter on his channel. And it's just, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of the community because a lot of them are not willing to learn, right? Like, here's information relevant to what you're doing. And they go, no, you're a cop. You don't know what you're talking about. Like, why would being a cop mean I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to law enforcement? A lot of them are in it for the money. Either the auditing community is very supportive to itself. YouTube doesn't care for a lot of their content, but they get a lot from Patreon. Speaking of Patreon, I'm starting mine up. I think that'd be fun. So if you guys have things that you want to see on my Patreon, let me know. I'll consider it. Right now I'm thinking of various tiers containing early scripts, videos that have been edited but don't have the green screen, so it doesn't have all the effects, so I can get that out to you guys much earlier if you want to see it beforehand. I thought about, and I don't know, my Discord wasn't huge fans of it. I thought about doing showing you guys my favorite comments, just having those listed there every once in a while. I just like some of the ridiculous things that get sent my way, but yeah, I don't know. There's something else I was thinking of. Early scripts, films. Oh, bloopers from my videos. Yeah, every once in a while I'll put out a blooper reel, which I think would be fun. I don't know if you guys think that'd be a good, thing to put on a Patreon to support this, because the Patreon is what it's going to do is it's going to custom Jeremy Sergeant Ringtone. What it'll do is fund my shenanigans. So right now I'm working on my Green River Killer expedition, find the bodies, see if I can find the bodies. I am, always trying to improve my equipment. I just bought new microphones. I'm kind of disappointed by them. Little lapel mics. But they work okay. And then later I want to buy stuff to test less lethal devices on myself. And those are expensive. So basically if you decide to be a supporter of the channel, and it still feels weird for me to ask, and it's completely at your own discretion, right? I'm not going to beg you for money. I'm not doing this for money, but it will be useful to get cooler things on my channel, right? So, if you guys are interested in that, let me know what you think. That sort of thing. I have my phone right here somewhere. It's right here. I had a friend that was... Oh, good. it feels weird to try to take your money, you know? I have a job. I have a real job. And this is just a fun hobby, and I love doing it. I love interacting with you guys. I love having a project to work on at home. And it amazes me that I have the support that I have. And yeah, 1,400 subscribers might not seem like a lot. You know, I have 15 people in this live stream right now, which I've been doing for, I don't even know how long it's been going on for. 2 hours. Hell yeah. But I'm just having fun. I have nothing else to do today other than do some video editing. So I love interacting with you guys. And, you know, of course, someone's going to complain, like, why is your stream so long? Well, you can suck it. If you made it this far, well done you. All right. No, is it vodka? No. Although, no, I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna drink alcohol in front of you guys. Not until I'm a little better established. Not worried about it. Am I going to contact and or visit Gary Ridgway? I am absolutely going to send him a letter. I know where he is. I know how to write it to him. I don't know exactly what you write to a serial killer. I don't suspect that he'd actually know where any of the other bodies are still. But worth reaching out to him. And then if I can visit him, he's 4 hours away from me. I'd drive 4 hours to visit a serial killer, sure. Use it to buy merch. Yeah, so I do intend to actually set up some merch. I have to get on that, though. If you guys want merch, I mean, tell me what kind of things you want. Pins, shirts, that sort of thing. Have I done it? Have I written to him? No, I have not written to him yet. But soon. Hopefully. Once I figure out what to even write. Just say deputy badges. I'm not going to try to steal their thunder like that. I'll make videos about the situation, but I'm not going to I'm not going to make merchandise based on them. I think that would be a little excessive and might open me up to some civil issues. Oh, did he do it? Oh, he's already admitted to it. He's convicted of 49 bodies, all of which he's admitted to, because they have evidence. I mean, they have other bodies that they think are his, and they have bodies that they think he, helped disappear they haven't found. He's confessed to, I believe, 71, but says there are probably more than that. Quadruple stuffed Oreos. Oh. That sounds amazing. But yeah, so he's already admitted to it, and he's admitted to more than they found. Do I think the cop was a little wrong in this video? Do you mean the one with Blind Justice? Was that who it is? I have these super chocolatey ones floating around here. Hard Steve. They're like chocolate on chocolate, covered in chocolate. And they're real intense. Posted the link. I can't. I don't. The links don't post in live chat. If you post it in my Discord, I'll be able to see it. Let me put my Discord back out here. There we go. Skablamo. And posted. Cool. Do I have any of those chocolate Oreos? I'm going to find some of those chocolate Oreos. You guys just keep thinking I'll die. They might have all been eaten. Oh, I am out of luck. That's a shame. All right. Video. Oh, what just happened? Tyrant alert. Eyeball. It's itchy. Now I have the coronavirus. So I think the cop is wrong in this one. Tyrant alert. What is this? Cary, Ohio Police versus an audit. Where are my headphones? There are my headphones. All right. And I should probably put the video on the screen and move my microphone so it's not in all sorts of weird places. And yes, there we go. All right, move out of the way. What are we looking at here? This looks like...
Because I'm recording you too.
What is this like a rear camera? That's probably a dash cam. What is this a spotlight? I don't even know.
Hey, it's cool. It's cool. You can
Just out of curiosity, doesn't matter.
record me because I'm recording you too. All right. Next time I wave at you, man, you can wave with all your hands, man, all your fingers instead of just your middle finger. Yeah, that one.
That's freedom of speech, dude.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you continue, man, and you want to act like this, I'll just take you to jail for disorderly conduct, persistent.
Oh, it's just the officer's point of view? That would make sense. That would be why he has all this stuff. Okay.
What's up, man? Hey, it's
All right,
cool.
body cam
It's
footage.
cool.
Body
You
cam
can
footage.
record me
Makes
'cause I'm
sense.
recording you too. All right. Next time I wave at you, man, you can wave with all your hands, man.
Diabetes by osmosis. All right. So, can you flip off an officer? Yes, that is protected speech. In most places, I would check your local whatever, but you should be able to get away with that. It's fine. Cool. People flip me off. Whatever. Can an officer approach a person to have a discussion about it? Yes. But let's see what happens.
And all your fingers instead of just your middle finger.
Oh, this one?
Yeah, that one.
That's freedom of speech, dude.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you continue, man, and you want to act like this, I'll just take you to jail for disorderly conduct, persistent disorderly conduct.
I believe this.
So continue to walk and don't say a word.
Ooh, I don't like where this is going already. Where is this? Ohio. Let's look up Ohio disorderly conduct laws. No. Ohio disorderly conduct. Alright, let's see the actual statute. No. Alright, criminal defense lawyer often has some good stuff. Is this the actual stat? Okay, here we go. Disorderly conduct, recklessly causing an alarm, annoyance, or inconvenience. Oh, that sounds pretty good. But by insulting or taunting another, making an offensively coarse gesture, or preventing someone's movement on a public street. Oh. While intoxicated. Now the officer's not gonna win that in court. But that will give them qualified immunity. Because like, look, hey, statute says this. You can easily say that the statute is overbroad, or something, various defenses. I'm not a defense lawyer. Recklessly causes an alarm, annoyance. All right, it's an annoyance by insulting or making an offensively coarse gesture. So it meets the elements of disorderly conduct. Is that going to win in court? I sincerely doubt it, because that is protected speech. Yeah, the cop should have thicker skin. You're absolutely right. So, is he wrong? Not in the sense that he'll be found wrong, but the statute will change if they decide to fight it. If someone challenges that appropriately, the statute will have to be changed. Or there might be case law that already exists to say, no, the officer should have known better. Let's look at what this criminal defense lawyer says. Disorderly conduct with inconvenience, annoy, or alarm others by fighting, threatening others with injury or property damage, or engaging in other violent behavior. Yes, that is threats, fighting, threats of violence are not protected by the First Amendment. So that would be where this comes in. Making excessive noise. That is often not protected by the First Amendment. Neither of these things apply, though. Saying anything offensive or abusive or making an obscene gesture. Okay. So that is disorderly conduct. But in some states, it doesn't count if the obscene gesture is made towards an officer unless there are other witnesses that might be offended by it. So I think you could beat it. I think if he appealed it high enough, he could beat it. But the officer would be protected.
Don't say a word. I'm gonna take you to jail if you continue. Continue walking.
You want another civil suit on your hands, motherfucker? You better
Continue
go.
walking.
You want your sergeant down here right now.
So this
Continue
person,
walking.
as a witness, is probably not going to be offended if they are associated, right? If they're together, which they appear to
Next
be.
time-
That's the witness that's not going to be offended. This person's probably too far away to know what's happening. I don't think the officer would be able to argue, well, other witnesses were offended, because where are they, right? And the officer himself can't usually be the witness who is offended, because they are legally expected to have thicker skin than that.
Next time I walk, I'm gonna take you.
So
you
generally,
walk.
I mean, almost always, I'm going to say, no, an officer is wrong for arresting someone who is making obscene gestures. However, legally, according to Ohio state law, he can do it.
You want your sergeant
So this is another, I keep pausing it and starting it and pausing it. This is another reason why it's really, really important to review your own personal state's law regarding this thing. Because if you want to make a difference, I mean, you could just file a suit against the government for having this law be too vague, right? You don't necessarily have to be arrested first. But, I mean, there are options that you can
down
take.
here right now.
Continue
Oh
walking.
yeah, on school property there are certain other limitations, but then the question becomes: are there children at the school? Is the school in session? What are the hours that this is happening? There are a lot of things that then come into play.
Fortunate you. I simply waved at you.
And I went like this.
I'm at Clan West.
Couldn't even hold my
Clan
hand up.
West. Look, all I did was I waved at you. It
Nah.
was a nice gesture to you and your wife.
I
as you were
can't.
walking.
This officer should just walked away. It should not have been this confrontation.
Okay. You what your problem
Is
is?
that a crime?
But let me tell you about what it's like to be a police officer. Very, very briefly. It's difficult because you deal with people that hate you all day. It is a very thankless. Well, it's not entirely thankless. There's some people that really appreciate it, and that's really nice. But sometimes you'll just be dealing with just, you just had to, tell a mother that her baby died. You had to, had a wife who's been abused say, no, I still love him. Don't press charges, right? You're doing some pretty difficult stuff. And then the public doesn't appreciate that. And then all of a sudden, eventually one person's going to take it too far and you're going to have this kind of confrontation. Because all you really want to do as a person is explain, like, no, please don't do that. But this officer is angry. Assuming this is what's happening. This is my take on it. Officer's angry, and he shouldn't be, and he should reach out to other people and be like, look, this is difficult. I need someone to talk to. He shouldn't take it out on the public, right?
Crime?
It's disorderly conduct.
It is not.
It is.
It is disorderly
Yeah, there's
conduct.
other-
It is technically disorderly conduct.
People walking around. Look at these people. These kids.
All right, there are kids as witnesses, but are they close enough? Again, we're going to go into what the legal defense might be. Are they close enough that they would see what's
Ever seen
happening?
you yell at me?
Yeah, because I
Dude,
simply
get out
stopped.
of my face.
No,
I think this officer's
free to
not
leave.
handling
You're
it
not free to go. You're
well.
going to stay right here. As a matter of fact, will you take the dog, please?
No,
Will you take the dog?
I'm not
They're about to arrest him.
Radio out with anybody.
Under arrest. You're being detained
Yep.
because you're.
Yep. Once they ask you to,
Okay.
Are you serious, dude?
Yep. Go ahead. You're not under arrest. You're being detained because you're acting hostile towards me.
Here,
You want
report
another?
me.
You want another unit down here, so I'm going to send you another unit.
all right. So they can handcuff a person who's only detained. It is not effectuate. Effectuate? Is that the right word? It isn't necessarily an arrest, but you have to have good reason, right? I don't know if he's being hostile enough that handcuffs are correct. But if you can articulate that, the handcuffs are not necessarily a problem.
My chief's actually going to come down here.
Chief's going to come down. Chief's probably going to say, don't.
No.
I was walking.
Cuffs on me. Identify me.
I did.
Your cameras on the case.
Some places will actually consider this to be an arrest. Handcuffs in the back of a patrol car. Things to keep in mind.
I need to go here at the stop. Back here, I was like, hey man, what's your
All right.
issue? And his ID on you. He goes, I ain't got to identify you. So due to his, I'm sitting here at the stop sign like when you passed me a little bit ago. I'll falsify. Oh, disorderly conduct.
Yeah, if he'll identify himself, if you want, you have to take that.
Is Ohio a stop and ID state? Let's check this. Stop and ID state. Once again, we're going to check all this. All right. Is Ohio. Give me Ohio. What is... Ohio is a stop and ID state. So under the suspicion that he is committing disorderly conduct, he would have to identify himself. We can establish that he met the elements of disorderly conduct, whether or not that an arrest would be correct. It is enough I'm sorry, whether or not he would be convicted. The arrest would be found to be, the officer would probably have qualified immunity, but he would have to identify himself because Ohio is a stop and ID state, and there is reasonable suspicion that he is violating disorderly conduct laws. I don't remember him. Was he asked for ID and failed to provide it? You can't shoot someone just because of a bulge on a hip. If he had pulled out a weapon from that bulge, different story. Bulge on the hip. Now, he might have, he could have done a Terry stop, patted them down for a weapon. But that's not enough. Was he asked for ID? I don't know if they actually asked for ID. Refusing to identify himself. Here we go.
Refusing to identify yourself.
You never asked me to identify me.
I did.
Your camera.
I don't remember him. Tell me if I'm wrong. I don't remember him asking to identify him.
Camera's on, ain't it?
Yep.
My camera's on.
You said
Everybody's
you're not-
camera's on.
you're-
When did you say I want
I need
your
your ID.
identification?
I need your
I'll
identification.
have it on me.
Okay. What's your name?
I don't know.
You don't know your name.
What's the
Okay.
crime I
Go
committed?
ahead and kick your.
Oh, yeah, that's the problem. That's failure to identify. He knows his name. Again, Ohio, stop an ID state. They have reasonable suspicion that he's committing disorderly conduct. He meets the elements of the crime, and unless that officer should reasonably know of any case law that would mean that this is no good, the detention appears to be valid. And I've never enforced law in Ohio, so I could be wrong about this. Don't take my word as gospel. Do your own research, as always. The fact that he appears to have done this because he was offended. That is wrong. That's absolutely wrong. However, the legality of everything that he's doing, and the fact that this guy is not identifying, that's obviously a problem. The detention appears to be legal. It should not have happened in the first place. I think it's enough for qualified immunity. Middle finger is protected speech, free speech in the Sixth Circuit. All right, so officer's not going to win his case, but if the officer can articulate that there was no reason for him to have been aware of this Sixth Circuit, there wasn't training involved, that's something the defense would check, likely. To contact the department and say, have you guys ever been trained on what is or is not protected speech when it comes to offensive gestures regarding disorderly conduct? And if they say, yes, we had training on that, this officer probably is not going to be protected by qualified immunity. Cruz Gullias versus Menard. Let's check that. And people say like, oh, police get away with everything. Well, I want you to understand how complicated it actually is. So 2019, when did this happen? September 9th. What date was it? March 13th. So this would have been there wouldn't have been much difference in time. So it would be very reasonable to believe that this officer had not received information on the middle finger. What county are they in? Cary, Ohio is in... let me see. Cary, Ohio. Wyandotte County. Whiskey Yankee Alpha November Delta Oscar Tango. Just starting out there. Still got it. Oh, that's fancy. It's a fancy church. Good for them. She was offered 1 year of probation instead of a $220 fine, but they rejected the offer. So I don't know if they're still fighting this. You've been there. Oh, that's neat. You ever encountered this guy?
Kick your feet.
Sir, can I talk to you?
But
This is my lieutenant. You can talk.
so I doubt that they would have been aware of this middle finger ruling. For speeding. Look at this. Pulled her. Wait. She made an all too familiar gesture at Menard with her hand and without 4 of her fingers showing. I like how they phrased that instead of the middle finger. Violate constitutional rights, qualified immunity. Did he get? He didn't get qualified immunity, or she? Is Menard a? No, Matthew Menard. So he. This gesture did not violate any identified law. Oh, wait. This wasn't in Ohio, though. This is in Michigan. So Michigan probably does not have a... again, one of the reasons this get complicated. Michigan disorderly conduct laws. If it didn't match, like, obscene gestures, then the Sixth Circuit could have ruled, like, yeah, because there is no law that says that a middle finger is a crime, then it is an illegal stop. Ohio does have a law that essentially states that a middle finger is a crime, so the Sixth Circuit would likely rule, or potentially rule differently. So this isn't going to be incredibly effective, although it could be, because they do debate whether or not it is protected under freedom of speech, which is enough that the offender, if the offender can articulate that it is freedom of speech, probably won't get convicted of the crime. However, if there's a law in Ohio that states that it is a crime, the officer is going to have qualified immunity. So even they might both win, essentially. It's again, gets weirdly complicated, which is something a lot of people don't understand. I love going through this stuff, so I
was walking here.
I enjoy it. Oh, Repo Man, I think I've seen the video that you're talking about. They're like, you can't record police. I'm like, I'm an attorney. Yes, I can.
Right? I'm just watching the stop sign. As this guy and
so he's talking to the police, and the police seem to be like, yep, agreeing, because obviously they arrested him because he went to court, or they at least issued him some sort of citation through the mail. So here's what I think. I think the officer should not have, water off a duck's back, as people say, probably in Ohio, because they have all sorts of weird phrases. I wouldn't have let it get to me. At least I hope I wouldn't have. I've had it done to me before, and I just went, okay, dude. Like, sorry you feel that way. I get paid to do this. However, does it violate Ohio law? Yes. So the officer is right to enforce it in the sense that he is not legally liable or civilly liable for doing so. However, will this get dismissed in a higher court? There's a very good chance, because freedom of speech. If that makes sense. I mean, the Sixth Circuit seems to think that the middle finger is freedom of speech. But the reason the officer did not get qualified immunity in that case is because Michigan doesn't have a statute that defends or would cause an officer to believe that the middle finger was illegal. Ohio does. So they're both going to win, or they're both going to win, I think. It could be a ticket or an arrest. You got the asshole text. There goes my phone. All right, anything else you guys want me to review? I've been doing this for, 2.5 hours? I should probably stop, sometime around now. Eat some food. I had a friend I was going to play video games with, but I don't know where he is. It's fine. It's whatever. It's fine. Hold on. Check out my phone real quick while the chat catches up. All right. Those of you who are leaving, get out of here. Go have fun. Enjoy your upcoming weekend. But I digress. Yeah. Okay, you gotta make that. First of all, there are not supposed to be any quotas. There are not supposed to be any quotas. I'm not saying there aren't quotas. There are definitely not supposed to be quotas. I never had a quota. Well, I don't know. I had a department where it's like, you have to do 2 tickets a day. Just so that we know that, you don't have to, but if you don't, we're going to be suspicious that you're not doing your job. And it's real easy. I could do 20 tickets a day if I wanted to. 2 tickets a day is nothing. So is that a quota? I would argue no. but maybe. But folks, 2 tickets a day for a 10-hour shift, you're going to get 2 tickets. It's very difficult not to. But that's the closest I ever came to having a quota. But anyway, I should get out of here. You guys have been great. I had a lot of fun. Discord. I'll put my Discord one last time at the end of this. If you guys want to join me, if you want to suggest new topics, I discuss a lot of things in there. Okay, well, occasionally a lot, I say. There are things that don't make it to videos, but I'll still have a discussion on. So that's a great place to ask me questions. And let me copy that again. And it didn't paste. There we go. It's right in there. If you guys still have questions, you want to learn things, that is the place to do it. So, until the next time, be good and stay safe.